In the summer of 1914, a single act of violence in Sarajevo shattered a century of relative peace in Europe. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was the spark that ignited a global conflict. But the powder keg was already full, primed by a complex web of military alliances that divided the continent into two armed camps: the Triple Entente of Britain, France, and Russia, and the Central Powers led by Germany and Austria-Hungary. What followed was a catastrophic chain reaction, a diplomatic failure that plunged the world into a war unlike any seen before, a war that would redefine the very nature of conflict and leave an indelible scar on the 20th century. As ultimatums expired and declarations of war were issued, millions of young men marched off to what they believed would be a short, glorious adventure. The initial German advance through Belgium and into France was brutally halted at the First Battle of the Marne, shattering hopes of a quick victory. On the Eastern Front, the Russian army suffered a devastating defeat at the Battle of Tannenberg. The fluid warfare of the opening months soon bogged down into a brutal stalemate. From the North Sea to the Swiss border, a vast network of trenches scarred the landscape, a hellish world of mud, barbed wire, and constant death where soldiers endured unimaginable conditions, fighting for mere inches of ground. The conflict soon escalated, spreading beyond the trenches of the Western Front. The great navies of Britain and Germany clashed in the North Sea, culminating in the colossal yet indecisive Battle of Jutland. The war also became a crucible for terrifying new technologies designed for mass slaughter. The eerie silence of a battlefield was broken by the rumble of the first tanks clattering across no man's land, lumbering beasts of steel that promised to break the deadlock. More sinister was the introduction of poison gas, which drifted in silent, deadly clouds across the trenches, inflicting agonizing death and becoming a symbol of the war's industrialized cruelty. New fronts opened in the Middle East, the Alps, and Africa, turning a European dispute into a true world war. Two pivotal events in 1917 dramatically altered the course of the war. In April, outraged by Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare, the United States abandoned its policy of neutrality and declared war, bringing its immense industrial might and fresh manpower to the beleaguered Allied cause. Later that year, the strains of war led to the collapse of the Russian Empire. The Bolshevik Revolution, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power and, seeking to consolidate their new regime, signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, pulling Russia out of the war. This allowed Germany to transfer hundreds of thousands of troops from the Eastern to the Western Front, setting the stage for one final, desperate gamble. With the influx of American troops tipping the balance, Germany launched a massive spring offensive in 1918, a last-ditch effort to achieve victory before the U.S. presence became overwhelming. After initial breakthroughs, the offensive stalled, exhausting the German army. The Allies responded with the 100 Days Offensive, a relentless series of counterattacks that shattered the German lines. With its army collapsing, its allies capitulating, and its people starving, the German High Command was forced to seek an end to the fighting. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns finally fell silent as the armistice was signed. In the aftermath, the world was left to count the cost. Entire empires, the German, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian, had vanished. The map of Europe was redrawn at the Palace of Versailles, where the victorious powers imposed a treaty that sowed the seeds of future conflict. A generation had been lost in the trenches, and the psychological and physical scars would last for decades. This war to end all wars was a brutal education in the horrors of modern industrial warfare, a tragic chapter that shaped the destiny of nations and left behind a legacy of loss and remembrance, forever changing the course of history.